So now that I'm coming in on 50, the biggest status symbol for me, well, it's not a person's watch, it's not their car, not the size or location of their house. No, the biggest status symbol as you get older is health. And nothing against a bodybuilder in his early 20s, that's commendable. But the guys that impress me are those 80-year-olds at the gym that are still throwing around those weights, breaking a sweat out on a bicycle, or cross-country skiing on the trails here in Wisconsin. Because let's face it, gents, you could have 100 problems. Then you have one serious health issue, and boom, all of a sudden, really, you've got that one problem. Because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And when I see those older guys out there with full mobility, out there moving, being active and having fun, guys, that is something to strive for. Because let's face it, when you're 22, you're still trying to find yourself. Oftentimes you can get away with dressing like you just rolled out of bed because you're young, you're healthy, you got a full head of hair, you look good. But by the time you hit your 40s, not only is society expecting a bit more from you, and at this point your body's not necessarily bouncing back as it used to. Your metabolism slows down. And style becomes more important because it's your amplifier. A mature man embraces style because it speaks for him before he opens his mouth. The right clothing that sends the message you want to send and fits you properly, well, gents, that sends the message to take me seriously because I take myself seriously. And speaking of the body, yeah, it doesn't bounce back as quickly. It actually starts to negotiate with you. Because when you're 22, you can drink beer all night, not get any sleep, and still perform the next day. If you try that at 50, not only are you going to look and feel horrible, but you're going to throw your back out trying to tie your shoes. Now, a big part of this is tied to a drop in testosterone. On average, 1% a year after the age of 30. Now, the key to fighting this, especially if you're watching this video in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, is to build muscle now to bank it for later. And then continue to stay active and train smarter, not harder. Think rowing, walking, hiking, lifting lighter weights with higher repetitions, and getting at least 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now, at this point, let's talk about sex. And gents, I'm here to tell you, at least in my experience, as you get older, it gets better. I know for me, it's because I'm more comfortable in who I am. I've got a deep relationship and trust with my wife of over 20 years. Because as many of you guys know, intimacy is a lot more than just the physical. It's also the mental. That being said, if you are having issues, I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, Rougiette Ready. Gents, Rougiette Ready is a 3-in-1 ED treatment. It works in as little as 15 minutes and it stays active for 36 hours. It combines the active ingredients in both major ED meds, plus apomorphine, which helps to prime your brain for arousal. So what that means is you're getting both the physical blood flow and the mental boost. Rougiette Ready also hits your system faster because it dissolves under your tongue, and so there's no waiting around wondering when's it going to kick in. And getting started is simple. You fill out a quick medical questionnaire online, a licensed doctor reviews it within 24 to 48 hours, and if prescribed, it ships to your door in discreet packaging. Plus, you get unlimited follow-ups with your doctor to dial in what works best for you, and you can read their customer reviews right on the site. So to get started, go to rougiette.com/RMRS. That's RUGIET.com/RMRS. Gents, I'm putting that link down in the description of today's video, and when you use that link, you get 15% off your order. Rougiette prescriptions are compounded medications available only if prescribed after an online consultation with a licensed clinician. Compounded drugs can be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and have not been reviewed by the FDA for safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing. Individual results may vary. Full safety information is available at rougiette.com. So the next thing that no one seems to tell guys as you become older is you start to develop real confidence. And no, I'm not talking about a macho attitude. I'm not talking about overconfidence. No, I'm talking about the quiet confidence that comes from experience, from realizing that you are capable of figuring things out. Yeah, once you get in your 40s, 50s, 60s, where you realize, especially when looking back, I've accomplished a lot. Am I perfect? No. But you know what? When I've had my back up against the wall, a lot of the time, I've figured it out. And even when I didn't, I survived. And I found as I get older, that confidence is incredibly and strangely calming because I've really stopped worrying about a lot of things that are outside of my control, problems that most likely aren't going to arise. And instead, I've got this confidence, this trust in myself that when the time comes, that when the issues arise, and they will, well, I have the strength, I have the tenacity, I have the ability to figure things out. The next thing that no one seems to tell you is that your friends are going to drift away unless you fight for them. And to be honest, in your 20s, when you've got dozens of friends, you're like, okay, I could lose a few and I'd be okay. Especially Mike over there. He always drinks all the beer and he never shows up when work needs to get done. But seriously, over the next couple decades, you and your friends, you guys have relationships. You start to have children. You get busy lives. You've got careers. You move across the country. You move across the world, different time zones. And all of a sudden you're 40 and you haven't spoken to any of those guys for years. And gents, I'm all about thinking time. I like a bit of solitude. But gents, none of us are an island. And a man, he needs male friends. Other guys that understand him, other guys that can just be there to listen, or just simply be around and do things with. So the key here is to be intentional. Stay in touch, even if it's the occasional text. One of the best practices I've seen is a meetup, is a get-together every single year, which you may need to host. Just tell your partner, hey, it's for my health. I need to be able to hang out with my people. And guys, even if you're in your 30s and you're like, I've never even had any friends. Well, guess what? It is never too late to start a men's group, which to be honest, there's already probably one at your local gym, VFW, Elks Club, Lions Club. Gents, find something. Go play Dungeons and Dragons. Go where your people are at and invest in, build those relationships because they're going to help you live a longer, more fulfilling life. The next thing that no one tells you as you get older, guys, there is never a right time. There is only now. And actually, old Apollo Creed told us in Rocky 3, there is no tomorrow. I love that quote. But seriously, when you're a teenager, you're in your 20s, everyone talks about your potential, your future. By the time you're in your 30s, you're no longer really looking at the future, you're thinking about the present. And by the time you hit 50, no matter how you do the math, you are definitely at the midpoint or beyond. And it's safe to say a lot of you guys have lost friends. You know somebody who has died younger than you. Well, gents, when you realize your time is finite, that you need to stop living like you're going to live forever, well, it's actually pretty darn freeing because you stop giving a damn about a lot what other people think of you. You're like, you know what? Am I living a life that's authentic to what I want to accomplish, what I want to do, and who I truly want to be? And guys, when you start asking those questions, and even more importantly, when you answer back with honest answers, well, it's at this point, gents, that you truly start to live. The next strange thing that happens as you age, you really start to understand your father or father figures, men in your life. At 18, they were all wrong. They didn't know what was right. At 25, you're like, I'm going to do better than those guys. At 35, you start to appreciate some of the wisdom that was passed on to you. If you're 40s, especially if you've got your own kids, you really start to understand who your father was and why he did what he did. And once you've reached perhaps peak maturity, you start to finally forgive. Your father walked out on you. I know mine did. And you just look back and you realize, if everything that happened in his life had happened to me and I was put in that situation, I'd like to believe I would have the strength to make the right decision, but I know how hard it is and I forgive him. And I've just got to move on and be the best person I can be for my kids. And I think there's a lot that goes with that because so many times in life, guys, we hold grudges, we hold things back subconsciously, even we aren't letting things go. What people did to us, some of it incredibly painful. And we realize that we just need to forgive them and we need to move on. It's not about them. It's about us just moving on and living our lives for ourselves. And on that subject, let's talk about relationships, the kind that we choose to have with our partner, with our friends. We realize these relationships, it's actually skills and things that we can improve upon. It's not about feelings. It's not about what we can get from the other person. Because gents, I'll be the first to admit, most of the relationships I had with women, especially early on, was straight up attraction. It was like, all right, she's beautiful. I want her. I have to say I got lucky because I found somebody that was probably a bit more mature than me. And because of the situation, because we lived in separate countries, and because of the length of our courtship, it was something that I had time to think. And I reached a point in my life where I realized, you know what? I could die at any moment. This is somebody that they seem to love me for who I am. I want to get to know this person a lot better. And as I was going into my relationship, somehow I fell into a book that just talked about marriage as work and to constantly be working on yourself to become a better person, not necessarily trying to change them, focusing on being a better communicator, having a shared purpose, making sure we're clear on both where we want to go, especially when it comes to family, leveraging humor to get through a lot of things, especially some fighting, having boundaries and being clear about that, and realizing that staying together is about growing together, being intentional, and to do the work to continue to try to understand and form a better relationship with this person I've chosen to spend my life with. And right with that, maintaining relationships, as I've gotten older, I've realized I don't need to prove I'm right to everybody. I don't need to convince everybody to see my point of view. And instead, I think Matthew McConaughey talked about this in his book, Green Lights. You should be working to understand their point of view. Yeah, you've got your own beliefs, but understand it's very difficult to win an argument with a smart person. With an idiot, yeah, good. It's just not going to happen. But seriously, when you are talking with people, quit trying to push your viewpoint on them. Instead, try to understand their viewpoint and how they came to this living the life that they've lived. I find that taking this approach, being genuinely interested in other people's stories, well, even if we disagree, especially politically, they're still much more open to speaking with me. And even though I walk away the majority of the time still having my same opinion, my understanding of how the other side, how this other person came to this conclusion, I think is a little bit, I understand it a bit more, and I can sympathize. I can have a deeper sense of empathy of how this person feels and why they believe the way they do. And this one right here, I have to admit, it's been a game changer for me. And that is, the point of winning the game, whether it be going after money, going after power, whatever it is you're going after, the point of winning it is to actually be free of it. And it seems like such a contradiction, especially when it comes to wealth, when it comes to nice things. But the reality is, once you get them, you realize okay, I've got the nice watch, I've got the car, I've got the house, I've got the money, but I miss the game. I've really enjoyed the process. Seriously, gents, enjoy the journey, enjoy the time that you have. And if you enjoyed today's video, guys, boom, I got you covered with this one right here. I think it's a great compliment to the video that you just watched if you enjoyed this one. So boom, go check it out. Boom, right here.